Alright, now in this section we are going to talk about something called functions. As we perform various functions during our daily lives, such as mother, father, son, daughter, or manager or employee, we can also get our code to perform different piece of functionality. In the context of programming, a function is a piece of code written to carry out specific tasks. When you define a function, you specify the name and the sequence of statements over here. Then later on, you can call that function by their name. So here, we can define our function with the function name. Then later on, if we need this function in our program, we can use function name to call this function over here. So functions are a really handy way of taking complex set of instructions and packaging them together inside a block of code that has a given name to it. In Python, there are three types of functions. The first one is built-in functions, the second one is user-defined functions, and the third one is anonymous functions, which is called also lambda functions. Now, if we think back, we actually come across built-in functions and we have been referring them in our previous lectures and projects when we needed to use one. Now, Python provides a number of important built-in functions that we can use without needing to provide the function definition. So in our previous lectures, we have used input function, which is built-in function. So we are using input function to get a value from a console to our program. Then we have used print function to print a statement. Then we use len function, which is calculate the length of any given string. Then we have used count function, and then we have used lover function in our previous projects and lectures. So the creators of Python wrote a set of functions to solve common problems and included them in Python for us to use them. Now, if you search on the internet for Python built-in functions, the first link will take you to Python documentation where you can see a bunch of built-in functions that we have been using. So here in this list, you can see all built-in functions in Python over here. So till now we have used, for example, input function. So if I click on it, it has a definition over here. And as a sample, they showed over here how can we use it. And another function that we have used in our previous lecture is that length function. So as you can see, it says that return the length of any given object over here. So by using length function, we can find the length of any given object. So by clicking any of these functions, you can read about the definition of them and you can see examples how they used in the practice. Now, if we head over to replit.com and then we start typing one of the functions that we have learned, which is, for example, type function. And after that, we are going to put two parentheses over here. And the reason we know that this is function because the name of function is followed by the set of parentheses over here. Now we know that if we put something inside these parentheses, let's say if we put 33 over here, then if I run our code, whatever the type of this value inside these parentheses will get out over here in the console. So as you can see, in this case, we don't have anything because we need to print out the value that comes from this main py file. But if I put it straight over here in the console and hit enter, you will see that in this case, it's printing out the type of 33 over here, which is integer. So we are using this type function to identify the type of 33, which is built-in function. So this function is developed by creators of Python for us to make our life easier without writing the custom type function by ourselves. Now another function can be, for example, len function. So as you remember, we have learned len function. So if I put, for example, inside this len function my name, which is Ershad, and hit enter, you will see that in this case it's returning 6 because there are 6 characters in my name over here. So this len function also is another built-in function that's provided by Python. So there are many built-in functions in the Python, so you can find the list of built-in functions in the resource section of this lecture as I showed you in the documentation. So for example, another built-in function can be maximum and minimum function, so which gives us the largest and smallest values in a given specific list. So for example, if I use maximum function for string over here, let's say I'm going to put hello and hit enter, you'll see that in this case it's returning O, because if you order this string alphabetically, O will be the last character according to alphabetical order. Now if I use the same function, for example, for minimum, you'll see that in this case it's returning H because first we are counting the upper cases, then we are continuing to count lower cases. Now instead of uppercase H over here, if I put everything in lowercase, in this case you are going to see that it's returning E, not H. because we have put it in all of them in lower cases. So in this case, E comes before H in alphabetical order. That's why it's returning E over here. Now these functions are not limited to looking at the strings. They can operate on any set of values. So we will see them in our upcoming lectures. So as an example, we can check another built-in functions over here. So as you remember, in our previous lectures, we have learned about type conversion functions. So we know that we can convert one data type to another data type. So for this, we are using conversion functions. So these are also built-in functions in Python that converts values from one data type to another one. So for example, in function convert any given data type to the integer. So for example, in this case, if I put 33.3 and hit enter, you will see that in this case it's returning 33. So it's converting this floating number to integer. Now if I put, for example, float 33, in this case it's going to convert this integer number to float number. Now here an important moment is we have to follow the rules of the built-in functions over here, because if I try to convert string to integer by using integer function, for example, if I put hello over here and hit enter, you'll see that in this case we are getting value error. So we have discussed this one also in our previous lecture. So here I'm just showing you that these conversion functions also are built-in functions that we have learned and we have used till now. So when we are using these functions, we have to read the documentation very carefully to avoid such errors over here. Now with this, we have come to the end of this lecture. So in this lecture, we have identified what is function, and we have learned that there are three types of functions, and we have covered the basic built-in functions in Python. Now in our upcoming lectures, we are going to learn about other types of different functions, and we are going to create our own functions. So see you in the next lecture.